Hello to all my wonderful subscribers, devout disciples, all followers. Welcome. This is Master GongSun. Today I'm going to do another episode of Taoism as applied to the news, where I dissect news articles and apply Taoist concepts to them. In today's episode, we talk about reincarnation. Now, before I begin, I want to tell you a bit about the fact that both Buddhism and Taoism believe very much in the concept of reincarnation and karma. And the fact is, if we are here for our souls to learn, do you really think that we will learn all we have to, all we should learn in just one lifetime? And what if that lifetime were really short? Right? So probably not. So this means that we will need several lifetimes, multiple lifetimes, to learn it all. Now, fortunately, I myself am actually on my last life. And for us Taoist priests, or what we call the Gaozang, and that actually means like someone knowledgeable about spirituality, we actually get to control how we exit this lifetime. So that's remains to be seen how I will. Haven't decided yet. Anyway, so here is some evidence for reincarnation before I even get into this story. Phobias. So for some of us, we might actually be scared of something that we actually have no rational reason to be scared of. For example, is anyone here or any one of my listeners afraid of water, right? Did you drown as a child or almost drowned? Probably not, but you have an irrational fear of water. Why is that? Because of cell memory, because you likely had a near-death experience or even died drowning in a past life. Right? That's how you can explain strange phobias. Also, birthmarks. How do you explain how we all have different birthmarks in different shapes and forms on different parts of our body, right? According to Taoist belief, these birthmarks are actually an indication of an injury in a past life. For example, if you were a knight in the medieval era in Europe and you were jousting, right? If you sustained an injury or even died, you'll be reincarnated with that birthmark wherever you were hit, or whatever injury it was that caused your death. And as for myself, I'll let you in on a little something. So whenever I feel nervous, I feel my throat closing up, and it feels very uncomfortable, as though I have to clear my throat. But there's nothing physically wrong with my throat. It's actually a psychosomatic symptom. And I consulted my master, and this is before he passed away, and he said, it's because, Jason, I'm able to read past lives, and I can tell that you were a merchant on the Silk Road. And yes, my first name, given name, one of them anyway, legal name, is actually Jason. Anyway, and how I died as a merchant on the Silk Road is that I was poisoned by a rival merchant. He had apparently poured some sort of like poison in a drink, and I drank it, and then my throat closed up, and that's how I died. So that kind of explains why my throat would close up whenever I feel anxious or nervous. Anyway, let us begin. Let's talk about this story here. So around 20 years ago, there was a story, a very famous story actually, of a boy who claimed he was a World War II pilot in a previous life. And I remember seeing this in a documentary. I'm going to read the article. It's actually just a summary, and then I'll talk a bit more about it because I know all the details because I watched the documentary. Parents think boy is reincarnated pilot. June 30th, 2005. 6 decades ago, a 21-year-old Navy pilot, fighter pilot, on a mission over the Pacific was shot down by Japanese artillery. His name might have been forgotten were it not for 6-year-old James Leininger. Quite a few people, including those who knew the fighter pilot, think James is a pilot reincarnated. James's parents, Andrea and Bruce, a highly educated modern couple, say they are probably the people least likely to have a scenario like this pop up in their lives. But over time, they have become convinced their little son has had a former life. From an early age, James would play with nothing else but planes, his parents say. When he was 2, they said the planes their son loved began to give him regular nightmares. I'd wake him up and he'd be screaming, Andrea told Primetime Live co-anchor Chris Cuomo. She said when she asked her son what he was dreaming about, he would say, "Airplane crash on fire. Little man can't get out." Andrea says her mom was the first to suggest James was remembering a past life. At first, Andrea says she was doubtful. James was only watching kids' shows, his parents say, and they weren't watching World War II documentaries or conversing about military history. So anyway, I'm going to stop right there and say, well, if they weren't, then where did he hear about all this? How did he know about airplane crashes, right? How would he know about World War II, right? Anyway, let's continue. As time went on, Andrea began to wonder what to believe. In one video of James at age 3, he goes over a plane as if doing a pre-flight check. Another time, Andrea said, she bought him a toy plane and pointed out what appeared to be a bomb on its underside. He says James corrected her, told her it was a drop tank. I'd never heard of a drop tank, she said. I didn't know what a drop tank was. Then James's violent nightmares got worse, occurring 3 or 4 times a week. Andrea's mother suggested she look into the work of counselor and therapist Carol Bowman, who believes that the dead sometimes can be reborn. With guidance from Bowman, they began to encourage James to share his memories, and immediately, Andrea says, the nightmares started to become less frequent. James was also becoming more articulate about his apparent past, she said. Anyway, this is all a very good point, right? I mean, the dead can sometimes be reborn. Why? Because James did not learn enough in his previous life. That's why he's back here to learn some more. And apparently, neither did I, your Master GongSun. I came back too, right? Although I feel I'm very, very, very close. This is why I feel I'm on my past life. I mean, I'm on my last life. My very own master said this to me. He said, you know, Jason, you're actually on your past life. You've been back here many, many times, and you've probably learned enough. And I would have to agree, because a lot of things feel familiar to me. I mean, not only do I know I was a merchant on the Silk Road in a past life, I was also a cardinal in Rome, you know, who voted in a papal conclave, right? I mean, like, I just have this feelings, unshakable feeling, and certain things feel familiar to me. For example, I'm able to pick up certain European languages pretty quickly. Right? It's stuff like that. Like whatever we have an attraction towards and an affinity towards, right? This is not an accident. Like let's say that you started to, for example, would you explain child musical prodigies? I mean, how would a 4-year-old be able to play like Mozart if he had never even touched a piano before? Or if he had, then it would take him like no time to play like Mozart, right? Let's say he started learning only a couple weeks ago. A couple weeks later, he's already a prodigy. How would you explain that? How would you explain these God-given talents without invoking spiritual concepts like God giving us talents, like reincarnation? We can't, right? It's all too coincidental. And there was another case where, well, James himself was able to verify a lot of details that a 6-year-old would not have known. That's what the documentary said, and he was accurate for all of them. And there was another case where this, I don't remember if it was a little boy or girl, but they said that they used to be a Hollywood producer in the past life, and they were able to verify all these details that they could not possibly have known, right? They didn't even know how to Google search, Right? There was no Google search back then, but all these details were verified independently. Right? There is too much evidence not to believe in it. Don't forget, we are all just spiritual beings having a temporary, human, material, physical existence in order to learn. We can't learn in the perfect world of the afterlife, where everything is filled with like love and harmony and peace. That's all great. That's what we're all aiming for. But it's actually in the conflict, in the strife, that we learn a lot, especially about evil. So why do we have to learn about evil, you might ask? Well, because we have to learn about all the things out there that might do us harm. Our souls cannot learn if we don't go experience all of that stuff for ourselves, good or bad. Anyway, what do you guys think? Do you have any reincarnation stories to tell me? Leave your comments down below. This has been your Master GongSun. As usual, keep living in alignment with the Tao.